Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And this was the go-home show before Fastlane this Sunday, the pit stop before we go all the way to WrestleMania. And I gotta say, this show to me is mystifying in the sense that I actually liked a lot of the stuff that they did on the show. Some stuff, I didn't really care for. But, you know, I think I even said last week, it's not necessarily how you start, it's how you finish. And while I liked a lot of the stuff that this show did, the way it finished to me boggled my mind. Way to botch the landing, in my opinion. I didn't care for it at all. But perhaps that is just one man's opinion. I will now field the opinion of my cohort and commentary. Ashton, what did you think of this Raw tonight?
You know, I was expecting to hate it, and I can honestly say that this show was not bad. It was... You know, I really didn't I feel like it was last week's show that I really hated, like, from beginning to end. Wasn't it last week when I literally gave a rundown of everything that was wrong with every segment of the show, or was that the week before?
That was the week before, because we were off the grid, unfortunately, last week.
That's right. Well, okay, well, it wasn't last week, but it was our last episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know what? This was a nice way to bounce back from that, because... This was a pretty middle-of-the-road episode. I would probably give it like a 7, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And yeah, it was one of those shows where I could actually sit through all 3 hours, and I only really got angry once, maybe twice.
That actually perfectly articulates how I feel, dude. Because, again, I liked a lot of the stuff they did here. One thing in particular, which we'll get to very early on in our review, that I thought really bolstered the interest in Fastlane, particularly the main event. It's just the structure of this card, I think, at times is a bit bewildering to me. But, you know, with that said, let's just get right into it. Heat of the night. And I'll just say, yeah, I do have a heat of the night. I do not like that the closing segment, the last image that you leave people with before Fastlane this Sunday, which, again, even though people have described it as like a C show on the road to WrestleMania or whatever, has a pretty significant main event, because the winner of that main event, you know, that completes the WrestleMania main event, and yet you give it to Big Show, Kane, and Ryback. Ryback I got no problem with, but Big Show and Kane main eventing a Raw. Again.
Wasn't it literally 2 years ago that we were begging? No, it wasn't even 2 years ago. It was literally last year that we were begging for the WWE to take Big Show and Kane off television.
Yes, and here they are closing a go-home show before a pay-per-view. That's your final push. And to me, I understand that this feud is happening, and my qualm isn't even with the feud, but why wouldn't you put this in the middle of the show? Why wouldn't you put this in the first hour of the show? Just anywhere but that closing segment to me. That is not what you want to leave people with. And to me, Ashton, honestly... And I'll talk a little bit about this more later in the review, but if you wanted to keep making SmackDown feel like something, even though I'm not saying it's like a 5-star matchup, you would have done Braun Big Show and everything you just did on Raw, you would have done that on SmackDown, and you would have switched that with the Dudley Boys versus Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose for tonight. That, I feel like, would have been a better closer because it actually involves people in the main event. To me, the structure of this card and who they gave the shine to at the end just makes no sense to me whatsoever. So that's my heat of the night. Though that's my only qualm with the show. Ashton, do you have any nitpicks or heats of the night of your own that you want to air out?
You know, dude, it's so funny that you have this big qualm with the ending of the show. I feel like WWE if there was any company in the world that didn't always end their go-home shows with main event segments that were actually, like, building up to the main event of the pay-per-view, that is like the WWE. They don't always do that.
Right.
Like, I can understand you not liking it, but I feel like this isn't new for the WWE to end a go-home show with something not related to the main event. I mean, for God's sake, remember, Paige and Charlotte once closed the go-home show leading up to a pay-per-view.
And I was getting ready to even use that as an example. I know this isn't unprecedented by any means, But, I think the reason why I forgave that was because it was different, because it involved women and put them at the forefront and gave them the ball. This is still like a male-dominated industry, and you're using like a male-centric feud that really, to me, is so much lower on the totem pole than your main event. Whereas I feel like Paige and Charlotte was trying to do something new and refreshing and really trying to stand by that moniker of, our Divas Revolution. I don't see any reason why this warranted the closing segment. I don't
think that in hindsight you're going to be saying that, because I think that 3, 4, 5 months from now you're going to look back and be like, damn, I guess that's really where it all started, because Braun Strowman is in line for a huge push.
That is true, and that is a good contention,
and this might have been the start of it.
Yeah, and that might have been the start of it, and you are very well right.
Let's also, if we're getting all of our ducks in a row here, Ryback with his new gear is also sort of being booked pretty credibly as well.
Yes, and that is, like we always say on Twitter, we try and find the silver lining. So you figure A, Braun Strowman gets showcased, that lays the groundwork for the main event push, and B, it does get Ryback in a similar limelight, which I feel like with his work ethic and how over he once was, and just, I like the guy, I'm glad he's in that spot. So yeah, I just personally don't think that WWE had their priorities right here, but you're certainly right, it's not unprecedented, and when you look at it, the bigger picture, projecting towards the future, this wasn't the most heinous thing WWE could have done. But with that said, do you have any heats of the night or any nitpicks?
I have 2 heats of the night.
All right, let's get through them.
Okay, the first one is a little bit on the lighter side, but it is still a full-blown heat of the night because it's really annoying me, and to call it a nitpick would imply that there's just one little thing that needs tweaked and that would be fixed, and I think that this is a huge problem. The Goldust and R-Truth storyline is terrible. It started out with potential to be good comedy, but it has gotten to the point where it feels like I'm watching one of those crazy Adult Swim commercials that happen super late at night, where it starts out looking like an infomercial and then it turns into a freaking horror movie.
Yeah, I'll just quote to you from my notes because it's only like a few lines here. I said, enough already. You're not Booker T and Goldust. You're Golden Truth. These segments have gotten tedious and have given me no reason to be sympathetic to Goldust for his inability to convince R-Truth to team with him. You're creepy, dude. Stop it. And that's how I ended my notes.
And, if we're talking notes, all I have in my notes is that Goldust is a heel.
Yeah.
That's what it is. R-Truth, I feel bad for R-Truth, honestly, because he is just trying to go on about his life and live like a normal person, and this creeper keeps on showing up in random places trying to convince him to be his partner when he clearly doesn't want to be.
And and that's the thing. WWE, it's so funny that I feel like sometimes they have no passion for possibility, and yet they can still find, more minuscule ways to stretch the limits of our imagination, because if this was happening in a public setting, Goldust would be in jail. Goldust would be in jail for stalking R-Truth and harassing him. And it's just ridiculous because, again, the problem with this isn't even that Goldust is looking sympathetic, because there's no sympathy for Goldust at all. Like you said, if anything, the sympathy's with R-Truth, the guy being pestered. He was just trying to have a date tonight. It's Valentine's Day. Everybody's still coming off, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And Goldust just comes in and muddles everything up. Why should I feel bad for that guy? More importantly, if you're an R-Truth fan and you're seeing him go through this, why would you want him to team with a guy that's been giving him so much grief these past few weeks? This should have ended weeks ago. I feel like, honestly, I still think that a Golden Truth versus the Social Outcast should have been the Fastlane kickoff, but considering what we got, I'm not exactly mad about it, and we'll get to that later. I think this is dragging on way too long, dude, so I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and honestly, if we're looking for a silver lining, to me, they could do something. Now, they're not going to, because it would actually require them to put effort into their writing, but they could do something really interesting with this, where you keep Goldust as the creepy stalker heel, and you keep R-Truth as the sympathetic babyface, and you get Goldust to basically extort R-Truth into being his partner.
Right.
Or just blackmail or something like that. Like, R-Truth doesn't want to be Goldust's partner, so Goldust finds a way to force him to be his partner. And that would be really new, interesting, compelling television, and it would get Goldust over as this horrible human being stalker creepy heel, and we would really feel bad for R-Truth, almost like the JBL Shawn Michaels angle.
Exactly. And you know what, though? I think it even takes the JBL Shawn Michaels angle to like another kind of plateau, because with that angle, it was all about financial assistance, and they preyed upon, the economic crisis, and again, blending, real life incidents within a pro wrestling kind of realm. Here, it's just Goldust being, as we've been saying now, that creeper, that guy that's very coercive with R-Truth, like, hey, if you don't team with me, the stalking's not going to stop. I'm going to make your life a living hell. And R-Truth does it, and yet, and I think you would agree with me here, I would make them, though, successful despite that discord and discommunication. I think it would be a fascinating route to take in the tag team division at a time where they desperately need all the imagination they can get. So yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, you could even do like what's that called? What's that syndrome where a prisoner will start to sympathize?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, you could even do a Stockholm syndrome angle where they win the titles, and R-Truth starts to be like, this Goldust character ain't so bad, and he needs someone to remind him, like, dude, you do realize that he like extorted or blackmailed or whatever you into being his partner. He's not a good person.
Right.
That kind of thing. I think it would be very interesting TV if they would go that route, but it is WWE, so of course they're not going to, and that's why this is a heat of the night for me.
Yeah, that's like Lucha Underground creative, like mind going for you right now there, brother. But what's your second heat of the night? Oh.
Charlotte and Brie Bella.
Okay.
Mostly, believe it or not, Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte.
No,
okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I despise the fact that they are going the Eddie Ray route with Brie Bella and trying to capitalize on her husband's retirement and her sister's injury to make her into a star. We've been down the let's make Brie Bella a top babyface road before. It doesn't work. She doesn't have the talent to pull it off.
No, and you know what? I figured out, because I originally wrote and I tweeted out, which, by the way, quick side note, I had a lot of fun tweeting with you guys tonight. Thank you for that. That was awesome. Definitely made some of the pain of certain segments easier to get through. But I figured out what bothered me about this segment so much, because I originally said I honestly didn't even know what to make of it. And kind of building on your point, Ashton, I think my problem was the type of heat they were going for. Because I would have liked it better if Charlotte just straight up was very direct with her heat, denigrated Brian, denigrated Nikki, tore down Brie, but her going in this roundabout way of emotional manipulation. Yeah, this passive-aggressive, emotional manipulation into getting Brie to forfeiting, I just don't understand that at all.
Well, and that's it kind of plays into my problem with Charlotte. Can we please take Charlotte off television, or at least get a microphone away from her face?
Yeah, I was actually kind of looking forward to Ric Flair talking, believe it or not. I don't know how weird that sounds, but
it is bad. It has gotten to the point that Charlotte might actually be the worst female mic worker in the company right now, and that speaks volumes, because look at the competition she's dealing with.
And, just to make my main point of what I was kind of building up to, I think what made me not as angry to make it a heat of the night like you, because I feel like they were trying for something, but they were just unsuccessful. I think what bothered me about this, when you go the route to get heat that Charlotte took, that makes it seem like Brie is some kind of a threat to Charlotte when she's only sympathetic because she's Brian's wife.
Yeah.
And even if that wasn't the case, this still wouldn't work. Because, again, I feel like when you're trying to emotionally manipulate somebody, or you're trying to goad them into doing something, you do it because, oh, man, either they have my number or they're a threat of some kind. Keep in mind, up until a few weeks ago, she was still the jobber of the Divas division. So I don't understand Charlotte employing these tactics like Brie is some kind of threat that needs to be averted. I think that's what really bothered me, is not only was it just the wrong kind of heat, in my opinion, to get when she should have been more direct, but it gives Brie Bella far more credibility as a contender than she could conceivably ever deserve. I think that's where I really took issue with this segment, and I'm glad you illuminated it as a heat of the night so we can have this discussion. And as far as Charlotte being, taken, removed from the equation, obviously it's not going to happen, but I do think at least let Rick talk a little bit more, with Charlotte maybe getting those succinct few lines in, really regressing.
You know what, though, dude? That's the thing. Like, if this woman is coming out and all you're hoping for is for her father to talk, that means there's a problem.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. But
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, okay, Charlotte is competing with the likes of Brie Bella, Nikki Bella, Naomi, Tamina, Rosa Mendez. Alicia Fox is decent but not great on the mic. Oh, Charlotte has so much competition, and I still think she might be the worst of them on the mic. She's terrible.
Yeah. I can honestly say I've never really been a fan on the main roster anyway. Some of her NXT stuff was alright, but I've never really been a fan of the main roster yet of anything that she's done on the mic. And here's the crazy thing. I can't even really say that about Brie Bella because she recently did do like one of those sit-down interviews with Michael Cole that I actually enjoyed, believe it or not. I kind of cringed myself saying it, but I didn't think it was bad. I felt like it was a nice little hype to Fastlane. I just feel like Charlotte does not have the ability to just carry herself or a program on the microphone at all.
Yeah,
and it's funny.
That's the thing. Like with Charlotte, I feel like when I'm watching Charlotte, and here's the thing, dude, you might have enjoyed Brie's interview, but no one's going to deny that she's awful in front of a live crowd, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right.
Without question, dude.
So when we watch this segment, a segment like this with Charlotte and Brie Bella both talking, I feel like I'm watching one of those middle school plays where the kids have the scripts in their hand and they're reading off of them in order to deliver their lines.
Right.
It is so contrived. And like Charlotte's diction, it sounds like she's trying to be like 2009 Randy Orton, and it comes off so much worse.
Yeah. I have trouble getting into her segments, like, at all. And it's a shame because I do like that this match, got a segment. I want the women, obviously, to be promoted. But here's the thing. Man or woman, you've got to be able to walk the walk when the time comes. And I feel like every time when Charlotte's given the ball, and she's the freaking champion, so more than anybody, when she's champion, that should be saying, I carry the ball more consistently than anybody.
Yeah.
I feel like she fumbles. And that is just a major problem.
How can Ric Flair go back and watch segments like this and be like, you did good tonight, honey? Like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, not to be that guy, but I guess my Johnny Scumbag moment of the night. I mean, come on, Rick, be a good father and be honest with your daughter. She sucks. I'm not telling her to quit because I feel like anybody can get better, but her mic work is not where it needs to be when she's the freaking champion. And WWE apparently, I mean, obviously I don't buy it. I know nobody buys it, but they allegedly have made this concerted effort to focus more on women. Well, when they give women segments like this, for the Divas Championship, you gotta be willing to carry it because you never know if it's going to be your last one. I'm always worried about WWE pulling the rug out from underneath these women, which would be criminal to the likes of Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. But, Charlotte has got to step up her game. It's just not there right now. And Brie, I tell her to step up her game, but she may be on the way out soon anyway. I don't know. So that's my thoughts on that.
And of course, Charlotte went for the vegan thing too, talking about your vegan goat-faced kids. And of course, we all know Brian's not even vegan anymore. So just this entire segment, you can just take whatever script you had written for this segment, crumble it up into a ball, and throw it into a trash can because it was garbage.
Well, there you go. Any nitpicks or anything else you want to air out, or is that it?
That was it.
All right, brother, and then with that said, let us get right into our Monday Night Raw review. And I find it appropriate that we proceed from Heat of the Night into this, because this was nothing but love on my end. Dean Ambrose opening the show. What I love about this, and this is the starting line in my notes, WWE manages to both fulfill their formula of opening with a talking segment, but they give it a boost of energy by having it be Dean Ambrose. So I feel like you both fulfill that criterion. Okay, we have to open with a talking segment, but you at least make it an entertaining one when you get a mind like Dean Ambrose behind the microphone. And I love the fact that he fully acknowledges, he's completely self-aware, that he's in for the fight of his life, but he relishes that fact. It's not even like Roman Reigns, and I'm not saying Roman Reigns has been cowardly or anything, but it's not even like Roman Reigns to me where it's like, he acknowledges it, but he's tempered, in his mood, and he's going to, clench his fist and he's going to fight. No, with Dean, I almost sense like a gleam in his eye when he talks about it. Like, I think he is excited to get in the ring with Brock Lesnar and to go to Suplex City, not just because if he can endure it, he potentially goes to WrestleMania 32, which, mother of God, I cannot wait for preview predictions because I think I have a rant building in me that I just want to go off on. But the idea, it's the Beast, and I've never been in there with the Beast, and it's a new challenge. And I just love that disposition from Dean, and the energy he projected here and how he got the crowd behind him was great. I'm telling you, dude, I think I even said later, in a later segment, it's amazing to me how in a few short weeks, this has felt more like Dean Ambrose's WrestleMania story to me than Roman Reigns' last several months. He is on fire right now, dude.
Yeah, he is. He's killing it. This is some of the best work of his main roster career, and it would be really nice to see that get rewarded.
You're telling me. Again, I think we're going to have a lot to say about it. If nothing else, I'm going to have a lot to say about it come preview predictions. So you guys are not going to want to miss that because, yeah, this main event is just getting more and more interesting by the day to me. Stephanie comes out, has line of the night to me because I'm dying, right, when she says this, because she's talking, and obviously, she's running Dean down, she's running Roman down, being the heel, and Dean says, Steph, I'm starting to come down here, can we just get to the fighting already? Like, he really wants to fight Brock Lesnar. And Stephanie retorts, oh, we'll get to the fighting because this is Monday Night Raw. Is that some kind of joke? When you open every week with like a 15 to 20 minute talking segment, you're going to tell me that Monday Night Raw is all about the fighting? Yeah, that's classic, Steph. But we get to ultimately Steph saying that Dean Ambrose is going to be defending his Intercontinental Championship in a 5-way matchup. And if Roman Reigns gets involved to try and help Dean Ambrose, he loses his main event spot at Fastlane to compete to face Triple H at WrestleMania. So high stakes for Ambrose. And, lays the groundwork for our first matchup. So what did you think of this opening segment overall, Ashton?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Again, we have Stephanie basically acting like a babyface, too. Like, oh, you don't have to worry. We're going to get to fight because this is Monday Night Raw. It's just like, seriously, make up your mind, woman.
Consistency. Learn it.
Never.
But, yeah, exactly.
But then we get right into our first match of the night with Dean Ambrose. And of course, I love too that Stephanie kind of set this up. She's like, you want to get F5, blah, blah, blah. And then she did, you're going to be in an F5 tonight. F5 meaning fatal 5-way. So yeah, that was pretty cool. But then, yeah, we got our first match of the night, which is the fatal 5-way, which is a new invention that Stephanie completely made up. Ambrose, Owens, Stardust, Breeze, and Ziggler for the IC title. I loved this match.
It was fun. I mean, this is a kind of matchup where there's really no story or anything in this. It's just predicated on a chaotic pace consistently throughout. And that's exactly what we got. And, towards the tail end, everybody was getting their stuff and everybody looked like they had a chance to win the Intercontinental Championship. But one man emerged victorious. And no, people, it wasn't Dean Ambrose. Dean actually drops the title here, which thank you, WWE, for fulfilling my Raw request on the go-home show, no less. I think that's very interesting. So Dean Ambrose does not retain. No, it is Kevin motherfucking Owens, baby. Because he throws Ziggler into the ring post, and when his shoulder is eating that steel, much like Sami Zayn's shoulder eats a ring apron, he then goes to Tyler Breeze, hits that pop-up powerbomb, gets the 3 count, and for the second time in his career has become the Intercontinental Champion, a.k.a. that title has come home to where it belongs. Yeah! Yeah! Kevin Owens!
And why exactly did he win this title tonight, John?
Because he's a father! Damn it! Yes! Yes! All those people!
That gets better every time, I swear.
Oh my god, those people. Oh, looks like Dean retained at Royal Rumble. He was the last man standing. Well, who's the last man standing now? Whoa!
Oh my god.
Yeah! You're next, Rick Knox. You're next.
Oh my god, dude. We need you at one point. You just need to explain your hatred for Rick Knox very thoroughly and why you have this massive heat with him.
Because he's so much of a troglodyte, he never bothers to sit down, look at his television monitor, and watch how a...
Yes. Let's save this for our Lucha Live reactions.
You do that. But you know what?
Because I'm sure he'll be a referee in one of the Lucha Underground matches, so you'll get to explain it then.
But you know what I won't be saving for Lucha Live reactions? The bottles popping over Kevin Owens being a 2-time Intercontinental Champion, baby! Yeah! Yes! Oh my god! But you know what? Bringing it down.
I
Bringing it down.
love the finish to this match, though.
Right.
Because we had Dean hook Stardust for like a dirty deeds, and then Ziggler comes up from behind and hits the zigzag on Dean, which inadvertently also ends up dropping Stardust on his head with the dirty deeds. So those two guys are laid out. Breeze tosses Ziggler out and then turns around into a pop-up powerbomb. Really well done finish. Whoever booked that finish, props.
Yes. Yes. And this finish, it's funny how one match finish can accomplish so much, because in one match you've already raised the profile of Dean Ambrose as far as the main event at Fastlane is concerned, because he's kicked off his cement shoes, as we've called it in the past, and you've freed up the Intercontinental Championship to be a part of independent programs now, you know, from Dean Ambrose. So I really like that. I feel like this one match accomplished so much. Obviously, I'm happy about the outcome, but even that notwithstanding, I mean, you could have had Stardust win it or whatever. I still feel like the productivity it attained still stands. So great stuff here. I'm very happy with this.
Yeah, this was a fun match. But immediately after the match was over, we get an interview with Dean Ambrose from Renee Young. And Dean says that the Authority keeps on trying to take stuff away from him, and they take, but all they're really doing is giving to him, because they're giving him the motivation, the inspiration, et cetera, to get to where he's going to be.
Dean has hit a freaking groove with these babyface promos. I freaking love this, dude. I don't know if it's just me on a Dean Ambrose high lately, but I have just been loving everything this guy's been doing. My favorite line from this is when he quoted, he didn't even know who he was quoting, which would be the joke later, but when he quoted somebody and it goes, when you have something taken away from you, it leaves your hands open to take something better. I freaking love that shit, because Dean now realizes I don't have the Intercontinental Championship, but that frees up both of my hands to take the main event of WrestleMania by the throat. Dude, so freaking good. The babyface right now. And honestly, with Bryan's departure recently, there's been a lot of talk. Who's going to be that guy? Who's going to pick up that mantle? It could be Ambrose. He is so good right now. He knows how to connect with the people. I think the people like him because he feels less forced. You know, he feels more authentic than Roman Reigns. To me, this just feels like Ambrose's year. I've been saying it for a while now. I stand by it. And this promo, I just think, is the biggest affirmation of that fact, because this was great stuff. I mean, not to cut you off if you were about to speak, but I also wanted to add, like he says at WrestleMania, it's going to be Dean Ambrose with nothing to lose versus Triple H with everything to lose. And he asks Renee if it gives her goosebumps. It sure as hell gives me goosebumps. So, yeah, just love
But then he gets pretty much immediately cut off by Kevin Owens, who shows up and is just like, hey, Renee, I told you that I was going to win this back. This is my Intercontinental title. Tell the world that you were wrong. And then Ziggler shows up, and he's just like, you know, Kevin, you don't have a challenger. You don't have an opponent for Fastlane, and I've beaten you a couple times now over the last couple weeks. I want a shot at it. And Owens is just like, nah. And then he walks away.
Kevin Owens, I'm telling you, I'm hoping this second reign goes better than the first, because I feel like, minus the feud he had with Ambrose, and he kind of, you know, dropped the title shortly, you know, within that program, there wasn't really anything too noteworthy. I've said it over and over again. There is top heel potential in Kevin Owens, and I love this interview here. Just because Renee is so adorable, and I do love Dean, so me even attacking him would feel so forced, because I do genuinely love the guy. I'm not going to do it, but I do love what he said here, you know, because he is right, as he always is, because he's Kevin Owens. And if he wasn't right, how could he be a father? How could he raise his children the right way? So clearly it makes sense. And I find it funny that Dolph Ziggler, Mr. Oh, I'm so good, I just need the chains to come off, I just need to get a push. You interrupt Kevin Owens this time? The guy that's never groveled for anything and just maximizes his minutes? How dare you? Oh, can I have the table scraps, Kevin? Can I have a match of Fastlane? Screw off, Dolph. You freaking joke. You know, yeah.
More like screw Alf.
You, sir, are a classic. But yes, Kevin Owens' response of, nah, that's the exact response everybody's ever had to your goddamn career, Dolph. Go away. No one loves you.
Well done. Well done. Oh my god! And you know what? The laughs just keep on rolling because up next we had the frickin' New Day, and we got a little recap of their music battle with Edge and Christian from last September, and then they cut a promo on Edge and Christian not even playing a real instrument, and we got a simulated blowjob on this frickin' segment, and it seems like the WWE is just gonna let these guys do whatever the hell they want at this point.
Yeah, because they're running the freaking ball down the field.
Did you even catch that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Frickin' Big E playing the recorder.
Yeah, man.
That was the most ridiculous thing, and it just happened.
And I find it something. A New Day is proof. You know, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. That when you have that proof of concept, like, hey, let us be heels, let's just go out and do our thing. And when they've been killing it as they have with the crowd response and the programs and everything, you get more creative autonomy. Because I guarantee you, I don't know if any other act could get away with that kind of, I wouldn't necessarily call it subtle, but that, like, you know, that not so PG kind of motion on a PG product. But New Day, man, I love these guys. They're great. They're the biggest credit to the tag team division. In fact, it's such a shame that the division is suffering right now and has a lack of teams, because I think that's a disservice to just the amazing heel work that the New Day's been doing, that they can't spread it out among a division and that they've really just been sharing it with the Usos. You know, it's really a shame, but they did great work here. They called out Mark Henry for abandoning them last week and not wanting to be an honorary unicorn with them. And, you know, they call him out, which leads to our next matchup, Big E versus Mark Henry. You know, Ashton, the funny thing about this match was it was solid. I liked Big E, you know, holding his own against Mark Henry. His trash talk was great. There was a point in the match where he ran Mark Henry's back against the barricade, and he tells him, "I'm your daddy now." And, like, I'm dying, right? Because it's Big E, and just, like, I'm going to give it to him all over again. I just fucking love the guy. The finish, though, which had a chance to be really cool.
You know, John, before you even say it, I'm just going to tell you right now, from what I understand, Mark Henry got legitimately hurt in this match, and they had to cut it short.
Then I forgive it. I forgive it because I even tweeted, like, I understand if Henry was legit injured, which is a shame. It's a shame.
I actually read a report from somebody that was at the show that said that Mark was legitimately hurt. He was clutching his chest. He was in a lot of pain.
Okay, that's fair. It's just a shame that it had to happen in the closing moments because Big E was going for the big ending.
Well, I mean, it wasn't going to be the closing moments. They had to make it the closing moments because of the injury.
Right. Well, what I'm saying was I thought that Big E was going to full on hit the move, and then the injury happened, and then that just kind of made everything, like, they just had to really quickly, like, go for that pin, you know, whatever.
Gotcha.
You know, which, again, Mark Henry's health obviously comes first. I hope he's all right. It is a shame that the injury had to happen, though, because I was getting ready for that really cool visual, and I thought that was going to make Big E look like a monster hitting the big ending on Mark Henry, but it didn't go that way. You could tell, though, that they were hinting at it. They know how strong Big E is. I love how he's just kind of the powerhouse of the group, the enforcer, if you will. So I forgive the injury because obviously it's not Mark Henry's fault. Freak things happen in the ring all the time. And, you know, that notwithstanding, it was a good match for what it was between two hosses, you know, trying to have dominance in the ring. And Big E comes out on top because New Day rocks.
There you go. So, unfortunately, yeah, Mark Henry hurt. Hopefully he recovers fully. I don't know if we're ever going to see him in a ring again because this was supposed to be like a final run for him.
Yeah, he may just call it quits after this. I don't know. And, you know, another injury, dude. Like,
hey, man, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, if he is injured and he has to retire, it's best that we find out now because then they can induct him into the Hall of Fame this year in Texas.
Yeah, buddy. And he deserves it, man.
Absolutely.
So, let's do it. So, Do we even want to talk about this next segment because it's the Brie Bella interview, and I feel like we gave it a lot of coverage in here tonight.
You know, it's so funny you bring that up because in the time that we've been talking about all this other stuff, I've actually come up with another reason why I hate this feud.
That's awesome. Let us hear it.
This feud is about two women, but the entire feud is being built around the men that these women are related to.
Yeah.
Brie is they're basically, rather than building this up as Brie Bella versus Charlotte, they're building this up as Daniel Bryan's wife versus Ric Flair's daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really sad.
Had you even thought of it that way until I mentioned it?
You know, I only thought of the first half of the equation about this match being more about Daniel Bryan, but I didn't really think about the whole Ric Flair thing. So, like, I thought of the first half of I had a semicircle, but you completed the damn thing. So, Yeah, that's still really sad, though.
It is. And
Wow.
I just, it's really unfortunate too, because one of the ideas that I've heard, and I know you guys are familiar with the Schleg Daddy over on OTRS Central, he suggests, and you know what, I wouldn't even hate this, but the way that the WWE would do it, I would hate it, because he suggested that we do Charlotte with Ric Flair in her corner versus Sasha Banks with Snoop Dogg in her corner, and yet again, it would be another women's match that is basically centered around the men that the women are with or around or related to or whatever. Yeah, related to is really what it comes down to, because Sasha's Snoop's cousin.
Yeah. And, it's
Why
funny.
can't these women rest on their own laurels?
Exactly. Why can't they have programs predicated on their own merits?
Yeah.
Who they are as people. And again, you guys must hear it once every Raw review, but that's, something, again, that Lucha Underground does right. Because with Eva Lee, she's such a badass, but it's not because of who she knows, it's who she is. And characters like that. WWE could have characters like that. I feel like NXT does, a great job with it, because you've got characters like Bayley and Sasha when she was around, and Becky, so they clearly know how to do it. But the main roster, man, with Vince having his finger on the button, just does not know.
It's so
how to
funny
portray
you
women.
said finger on the button, because all I was thinking was that you were going to say finger on the pulse, and I was about to be like, yeah, except he doesn't have his finger on the pulse.
Yeah, it's more like finger on the corpse, because nothing's moving. He's just not getting anything. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. It's a shame, because even if Brie and Charlotte aren't the best performers, they could still have their own story to tell, and they are their own unique people, and I think this kind of segment, to your point, really does a disservice to that. But regardless, do you have anything else you want to say about it?
No, just that it's a shame, and I really hope that once Bayley gets called up, that they don't stick her with some random guy just to try and help get her over, because she doesn't need it.
WWE, if you screw over Bayley, the most adorable person on earth who is killing it in merch, me,
and
the
killing
most
it on Up Up Down Down.
Exactly, me, the most sadistic person on earth who laughed in Simba's face when he was nudging his dead father with his paw. I won't forgive you. Think about that. Think
That's
about
like
that
shit.
shit.
Freaking heel book trailer with Balor. Vince, if you screw this up, I will physically kill you.
Exactly.
Except it's with Bayley.
Get your shit together immediately. But next
Get
matchup.
it together, Vincent.
You said Vincent.
I had to make it 2 syllables in order for it to fit.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. Another pervasive theme of this Raw was nepotism, and we'll get to Vincent, I think, a little bit later, because something interesting developed. But regardless...
Oh, you mean that Charlotte being on this segment wasn't because of her own merit?
Exactly. But next segment here, or well, I should say next matchup.
Was great.
AJ Styles versus The Miz. I liked it. I do think their SmackDown match was better, but this match was still a lot of fun to me.
My commentary dream team right now is Mauro Ranallo, heel Jerry Lawler, and Chris Jericho. He was so good on commentary.
I'm glad you said that, Ashton, because I was thinking to myself, I didn't say it aloud to you and I didn't tweet it out, but I was thinking to myself, Chris Jericho could have a viable career as a commentator when he wants to step down from in-ring. I know he'll always want to do his Fozzy and stuff, but I thought he was great on commentary because he knew how to put AJ over while not making himself look like a chump in the process. Gee, imagine that. Again, good back and forth here. I liked the false finish with Miz actually getting the skull-crushing finale only for AJ to kick out because they didn't have that in their SmackDown match, so that did make it a bit distinct.
It shows AJ's toughness, too.
Exactly. But man, is Miz the bitch of the calf crusher because he taps out to it again for the finish. So really building up that submission hold. And then
I'm going to say it, John. We've seen AJ Styles in 7 matches now, 1 Styles Clash.
Keeping that counter going, brother. Keeping that counter going.
You know what? I'm going to keep it going until the ratio goes above 30%.
There you go.
I might be keeping the counter going for a few years.
Finisher goals.
It's gonna be when AJ's the Styles Clash gets choke slammed, where he hits it in every match and never gets a pin off of it.
Right. And Ashton, I gotta say here though, and I would also express this sentiment for the proceeding segment, which we'll get to here in a few moments. What I loved about the post-match interaction between Jericho and AJ. Jericho, he's clapping. I think he's like feigning approval or, congratulations for AJ. And he goes to speak. AJ just cuts him off. And he says, cut it out, Chris. Cut the crap. I know why you're out here. Let me be the one to lay down the gauntlet. You want another match, right? We're tied at one apiece. Let's do it. AJ Styles, Chris Jericho 3, Fastlane. And Jericho, exhibiting heelish tendencies yet again, didn't answer right away. He didn't accept right away. He said, AJ, personally, I don't know if I want to face you again. I'll give you my answer Thursday on SmackDown. And I love this because this feud in particular, Styles and Jericho, has saved its pivotal moments consistently for SmackDown. And I like that because it gives it a reason to tune in. And I think they want more people, because now that everything's under the umbrella of the USA Network, to be like, hey, these are your reasons to watch SmackDown. Check it out. And, I like that. I like that this feud, again, it's more SmackDown exclusive. Not that you don't get progression on Raw, but the big stuff, I think, is saved for SmackDown. So I really approve of that.
Yeah, I even tweeted, dude, I feel like Jericho did a better job making people want, or not, I'm sorry, you know what? That was a different segment, wasn't it?
I think you may be thinking of the next segment, and I would echo your sentiments because I liked what they did there. Do you want to just get right into it?
You know what, though? I will say Jericho did a better job of making people want to tune into SmackDown than anyone else.
Yes.
I mean, commentary will say, oh, turn into SmackDown, but we've heard them plug everything already. When Jericho says something like that, it's like, oh, okay, maybe now I should watch SmackDown this week.
Exactly.
And then you tune into SmackDown and you hear Mauro Ranallo's phenomenal voice and you hear Jerry Lawler being a doucher and you want to keep watching.
Exactly. Man, that is such a potent combination. With that said, let's move on. We've got a Dudley Boys promo, and again, I kind of hinted at it in the preceding segment. I have in my notes, it's not often that a Raw segment serves as a SmackDown recap, but that is exactly what this felt like to me. I really just put, and I didn't mean this in a bad way for the record, but I said this felt to me like just a watered-down version of their amazing SmackDown segment, cementing this heel turn. This was more of a reaffirmation of their new disposition than progressing anything. So, once again, this segment serves as SmackDown incrementally looking important. They're taking the baby steps. I like this because Bubba even said, if you didn't see SmackDown, there are no more tables. And yeah, I would advise everybody. I mean, you don't have to go and find the episode of SmackDown. You could go on WWE's YouTube channel. I'm sure they have it. Watch that segment. That was some great mic work by Bubba Ray. Just a great segment overall. And yeah, I like this. But again, it was a reaffirmation screw you guys. We're heels now. We're not some Guns N' Roses kind of act. We're a legendary tag team. We mean business. And we're not going to be remembered for a piece of furniture. We're going to be remembered for what we did in the ring. So I liked it.
Yeah, this was good. I like that they're recapping SmackDown on Raw, though, because, if people are going to watch one show and not the other, they're going to watch Raw and not SmackDown. So why would you insist on having 20-minute Raw recaps on SmackDown when more of your audience watches Raw?
Right.
It makes more sense to have a SmackDown recap on Raw because there are fewer people watching that show than there are people watching Raw.
Right.
So, and plus, I mean, really, the people that do watch SmackDown, then you should be rewarding them, being like, hey guys, this is our show that we need more support on because fewer people watch it. So we're going to put on a better show and we're going to reward you for watching it. But no, they take a fifth of the show and they're like, here, watch what happened on Raw, even though you already saw it.
Exactly. So,
and especially now that they're on the same network.
Right.
You could make the argument before that SmackDown and Raw didn't necessarily have the same audience because they were on different networks. But now they have the exact same audience. It's just SmackDown's is smaller.
And I will say, again, you can see the baby steps with the Styles-Jericho feud and now a promo like this, because I think WWE, to their credit, for once actually recognizes something, and that is that they've got an umbrella audience now, and they need to treat it as such. So I felt like this segment and the one that preceded it really did that service, and I enjoyed it. I think big thumbs up there, and I am becoming a fan of SmackDown again, which is wonderful to say after what feels like years, legitimately. So good stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a slower process. I was kind of hoping that they would be on USA and immediately just be like, okay, guys, we're on the USA Network. We are going to change the format of this show completely. It's going to be a little bit of a sudden change at first, but people will get used to it. But Rather than that, they're just kind of easing us into the new format.
Right.
You know, I would have preferred something more sudden, but I can deal with what we're getting. And obviously, I'm going to deal with what we're getting because we've made the decision to review SmackDowns now. And believe it or not, guys, SmackDown TwitWows are actually getting more viewership than NXT TwitWows. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, it's that Mauro Ranallo voice, man. People can't resist.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I feel like I started using that word more since AJ showed up on the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, AJ, get after it. You know, get past Jericho and move on, babe. I want to see some gold around that waist. But next matchup here, we have Summer Rae taking on Paige. I gotta say, it was a fun match. It wasn't the longest, but I felt like it did the best with its time. The pleasant surprise comes, though. Summer Rae gets the win.
I was so happy about this.
I was too, dude. You weren't the only one. Paige was really posturing, like teasing the Paige tab out, the PTO, that's right. And Summer caught her in a pinning combination where I feel like her knees were pressed into Paige's shoulders so they couldn't get off the mat.
Yeah.
And yeah, Summer got the win. And I'll say it here, Summer deserved this to me because I think Summer has proven herself to be a solid heel in situations that WWE puts her in. You know, most recently, my mind immediately goes to, you know, her being Rusev's valet and doing all that. I think Summer's put in the work. I feel like you can't have enough depth in a division that gets, you know, sometimes the disrespect and the lack of creativity and stuff like that as the Divas division. Every little bit helps. So seeing somebody like Summer, I won't necessarily say come out of nowhere, but definitely get this surprise win over an established competitor like Paige with 2 Divas championship reigns. It's refreshing. It's nice. And it makes me think that Summer, you know, could do something more in the future within the parameters of the Divas division. So I was very happy seeing her get this victory tonight.
Yeah, this was a really nice surprise because you and I have been talking Summer up and talking about how underappreciated she is for what feels like years now. And, you know, whenever they give her some crappy gimmick where she has to be the sideshow to some random dude who the WWE is going to push for a month and then forget about for 7, she made it work. She ended up being, you know, she was easily the most interesting rather thing about that horrible angle involving Rusev and Lana and Dolph Ziggler.
Right. She was the standout. Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm just glad to see her get this shine because, again, she more than deserves it. Do you have anything else you want to say about this?
No, let's go ahead and move on.
All right, next up, we had our Paul Heyman promo, you know, final stretch. Ashton, I'm going to field this to you first. What did you think about this, man?
I dug it. I thought that, you know, it's one of those things where we get on the WWE's case a lot for trying to kind of force everybody to be a good talker. But I feel like, you know, as much as it sucks that it's the only person they're willing to do this for, I like that they are willing to kind of try and cover up Roman Reigns' lack of talking ability, because this entire segment, it was 95% Paul Heyman talking at Roman Reigns, 5% Roman Reigns' response, and then afterwards, of course, we had some physicality. So I think that the WWE did a really good job here of covering up Roman's weakness, emphasizing what he is good at, which is standing there looking good for the ladies and then getting physical with the Dudley boys. And yeah, I thought that this was just a really well done segment.
Yeah, I loved what Heyman had to say here. He pretty much painted Reigns' dilemma as a dichotomy between choosing his family or choosing his friends. And, you know, he really illuminated the fact that while Lesnar may be your enemy, so too is Dean Ambrose. And, you know, I loved Reigns' retort too, because he's like, thank you, man. Thank you. You know, nobody does that anymore. Nobody just comes out and says what's on their mind. And here I'm thinking like, wow, you know, what a really civil exchange. Wow, that's just incredibly wait, what the fuck? And I'm just like, what's going on? And Roman Reigns is pretty much just like, you know, you're right, but me and Dean, we've got no problem fighting each other. You know, I've beaten Dean before in my mind, you know, went back to Survivor Series. And, you know, he says, but I've never beaten Brock Lesnar, but I have beaten his ass. You know, which I'll admit, I thought was a good line. And if nothing else, it got the crowd to pop, which I think, you know, you should aim to do. So Reigns kept the talking to a minimum, to your point. Heyman just goes on about, you know, this this conflict that Roman Reigns faces. And then, yeah, he gets assaulted by the Dudleys, which, you know, there are competing theories. Oh, did Paul Heyman have him in the back pocket because ECW? Me personally, I just felt like it was the logical progression. You know, I even tweeted they're the antidote to nepotism because they took out the Usos the week prior. So, of course, they want a gun for the Usos family to make it even more personal. But regardless, as they're putting the boots to Roman, Dean Ambrose comes out, he makes the save, and when it seems like Roman and Dean have this fortified front, they do kind of a bro hug thing, but Dean tries to transition it into a dirty deeds. Reigns escapes, and he gives Ambrose this look, and Ambrose just says, you gotta be quicker than that if you want to go to WrestleMania, and he does the obligatory pointing to a WrestleMania sign. But I like that because I feel like that's a natural response from Dean because Roman straight up said, like, I've beaten Dean Ambrose. So Dean's probably listening to that in the back and thinking, like, oh, well, I've just got to remind Roman that I'm nobody to look past. You know, it's not Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. This is Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose. So I like that he did that. I really just loved everything about this. This is a really fun segment. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was well done, and like I said, great way to protect Roman.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you. I thought that the little tease at the end there, that there was tension, I loved that. And Dean really does. Like, he feels like he owes Roman one now because Roman did beat him.
Exactly. I'm telling you, dude. Oh my god, I can't wait for preview and predictions because I'm like they've really upped my interest in this triple threat now, and that is something that I honestly have to give WWE credit for. I could shit on their parade all day, and Lord knows I've taken those.
You know what, dude? It's so funny because I feel like the WWE needs to earn my interest, and the way that they do that is by giving me a result that I care about.
Right. You know, and
if they
we'll
give
see.
me, if you know what, I don't want to spoil full on my preview predictions, my prediction, but really, I feel like all tonight did was tell me that the WWE wants us to think Dean's going to win.
Right. I agree. I think it's brilliant marketing because, I mean, come on, dude. They have him drop the Intercontinental title on the go-home show. Really? Just that final push, you know? So, clear manipulation going on. But, hey, I'm a sucker with a smile on my face, at least for one night only. So it was good stuff. Nothing more you could say than that. But
and I'm a cynic who's hoping to have a smile on my face on the day of the big show.
And you know what? Those two forces are going to make one hell of a preview and predictions video. I cannot wait to talk about this show with you, man. But we just got to wait just a little bit longer.
Up next, though, speaking of cynical, we have Zack Ryder versus Heath Slater.
Yeah, you know, and there's a screen-and-screen promo for the Social Outcast, you know, just their general goofiness. And as far as the match itself goes, Zack Ryder gets his offense in, you know, including a broski boot and a dive to the outside, but the numbers game catches up to him, and Heath Slater wins after the Impaler DDT. So, I mean, yeah, it just makes sense to me. Not really much you can say here. Social Outcasts are more relevant than Zack Ryder in the context of being featured on the main roster. So it makes sense to me that they'd get the win here. And, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to kick Zack Ryder while he's down because, again, you know, when a guy's dating Emma, who's the real winner here? So, you know, clearly no shade being thrown here. Heath Slater gets the win, and that's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't really have anything to say about it either, so let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk. Well, we don't even need to if you don't want to. Golden Truth segment was next.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about Golden Truth, so we can move on to, I believe, our next matchup.
Goldust simulates a money shot on R-Truth's date. Real classy.
Yeah, that was another thing I caught too. So we had the recorder with Big E, and then the money shot by Goldust, which I'm glad I wasn't the only one to catch that. And I was just like, ew.
The guy that runs the Moms Against WWE Twitter account has a single tear running down his cheek.
Wow. If I'm not mistaken, our next matchup was Neville and the Lucha Dragons versus the League of Nations. Correct?
That is correct. Yeah. This actually really annoyed me at first because why is Sheamus in this match?
Dude, I even tweeted to you because we were kind of having a conversation on Twitter. Like, it's the injury plague has gotten so bad that WWE is making guys compete based on degree of injury, which begs the question, what the hell is wrong with Wade Barrett? Because, like, he looked perfectly healthy on the outside, but isn't it like a neck issue he's dealing with or something? Like, I forget what his issue was, but you've got Sheamus with, like, this cast on his arm because that, you know, that's what he's been dealing with, and yet he's in this six-man tag. Makes no sense to me.
No, none at all. I don't get it. You don't get it. I don't know if anyone gets it.
Yeah, they're going by degree of injury now. Like, what's your injury? I broke my arm. Okay, you can go out there. You have a one-on-one match now. Oh God.
Look,
But
man, stop whining. This guy over here has a broken neck. Do you really want to complain?
you're right. I have a family. I know it, damn it. That's why I signed the checks. Now get your ass out there. But regardless, this was an all right match. You know, would you think I'd have more to say about it given the talents involved? I like the talents involved. Well, save for Del Bitchbag, but you know that's another story for another time. But I felt like it was just okay. And I mean, you said it before I did on Twitter. Man, was this finish horribly contrived. Like, holy crap. You've got Sin Cara, you know, trying to like battle everybody, but Del Rio gets that step up enziguri, I think, to the arm. But rather than just falling on his back, you know, tumbling back like inside on his back, Sin Cara somehow hangs onto the ropes.
Because he was literally hanging on to the ropes.
Exactly.
Like, his hands were grasping them, trying to hold himself up. Come on, Del Rio, hit me with your finish, please.
Exactly. This was awkward to watch for me. And, you know, it really does take away the visual of Del Rio clearing that distance and getting the double stop. And here's the thing. I understand completely, WWE. It's basic heel versus face, you know, 101 stuff. You want to give Del Rio all this momentum because Kalisto already being that underdog character type face, you want to make it seem like, oh man, he's going to have so much to overcome. You remember he has a cross arm breaker though, right? You remember that, because to me, it would have been so much better if he got that enziguri to the arm, came back in, got the arm breaker, and made Sin Cara tap out, and maybe kept the hold in a little too long, just to show the viciously and the brutality that Kalisto's going to be in for. But you opt for this instead. Whatever floats your boat, bud. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
Up next, I believe was the Booker T video package for Black History Month.
Oh, you know, I didn't even write that down, but, you know, I couldn't help but notice that they didn't bring up WrestleMania 19 on here.
That was your tweet of the night, dude. I was dying. I read that and I'm like, oh, Ashton.
And also, this was another thing I tweeted. Is it just me, or are the WWE trying, like, uncomfortably hard to make Roman Reigns look white?
How do you mean exactly? Can you give some context for that?
He was standing next to Paul Heyman in the ring tonight, and his skin was paler than Heyman's. Not to mention these blue contacts that he's been wearing. Like, it's a little fishy as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting. I don't really know exactly how to respond to all that, but we'll see. I'm keeping my eyes on Roman Reigns.
I can hear the anxious aardvark in your voice.
Yeah, I'm like, do we have any sponsors? Do we have anybody we go to? No, you know, we'll see. We'll see what his skin pigmentation is in Fastlane, I guess, because that's another pressing question. But yeah, Booker T video package again. Ashton had tweet of the night there. Then after that, we get a
That's
video.
That's why I mentioned the Roman thing, because, we have Black History Month, but we want our biggest star to be white.
Exactly. Because that's not horrible at all.
Guys, if you want a really good commentary on the WWE's current state of affairs as far as race goes, you need to go watch OTRS Central's video about who Daniel Bryan fans should support next, because he does a great job of breaking it down.
That was a great commentary. I echo those sentiments wholeheartedly, guys. Check that out. But in the meantime, what we have next is, I believe, a video recapping earlier in the day, Becky Lynch arriving at the arena. She's confronted by Naomi and Tamina. Becky Lynch is pretty much like, guys, look, let's just save it for the ring, all right? And Naomi's like, oh, we're thinking.
She's such an adorable, pure baby face. She's way too trusting.
Well, not only too trusting, I think Becky, God knows how long that drive was. I don't think she wanted to deal with this. Like, guys, I just came in. My baggage got lost. Let's just save it, all right? I know we got to promote the match, but honestly, like, I'm up to here with the world, okay?
Cue Tamina super kick, and Becky just gives up on life.
And Becky's just like, I hate Mondays, and just sighs.
Oh, looks like someone's got a case of the Mondays.
Oh, man, but, you know, it's okay to feel sympathetic for Becky because I believe, well, actually, no,
she's
before that.
She's adorable, that's why.
She's freaking amazing is what she is. God, I love Becky
Did
Lynch.
you guys see her Valentine's Day tweet or Instagram video or whatever it was?
No.
Oh my God. she held up like a rice cake, and she was like, oh my god, I don't remember the whole thing, but she was like, she used all these different props and used stool, and she held up a stool in my heart, and she held up a heart, and like, she's amazing. And the best part about those pun videos where she's just like prop comedy all the way is the smile that she gets on her face when she finishes. Like, yeah, I accomplished something today.
She is the best. I wish I could have expressed my love for Becky Lynch by sending her a head of lettuce, but it proved rather difficult. But if any of you can achieve that, she loves lettuce, so, get on it.
I love lettuce.
But you can eat a lot of it and never get fat. But regardless.
That was amazing.
Thank you. I was torn between wanting to belong and not wanting to be viciously mocked, and I'm glad that it was the former.
People, if you mock him for that, he's finally coming out of his shell. I will delete your comment. And I never delete comments, ever.
I have a safe space. Hooray! I fucking love you guys, man. But regardless, we have Renee Young interview with Del Rio. He's all up like, yeah, guys, we did something. Did you see how long it took me to execute that finish? Yeah, we're gonna party right now.
Aren't you so glad I celebrated on the top rope to make it even more contrived? Yeah.
Yeah. God, I'm not even gonna be able to finish. But Renee's like, Del Rio, can I talk to you for a second? He's like, guys, let me do this. I gotta promote that matchup. And she's like, does this really help your momentum going into Fastlane? And he's just pretty much like, oh, of course. I proved that, I'm the rightful United States champion. And if Kalisto wants to prove that he's not a little mosquito, God, I'm really hating that term. He'll accept my challenge.
I love that it gave Lawler the go ahead to use a Zika virus joke though on SmackDown.
Yes, the best mileage they've gotten out of the term mosquito yet, without question. But he says, if he accepts my challenge of a 2 out of 3 falls matchup, which my question being, where the fuck is my royalty check? Because I know a few weeks ago I'm like, oh, the only way I could understand a match happening again at Fastlane is if it had a stipulation like, 2 out of 3 falls. So somebody out there is listening, which obviously thank you for the viewership, first of all. I mean, clearly you have great taste. But more importantly, where's my money? All right? Johnny gotta get paid.
It's called royalties, people.
Exactly. Get on that level, all right? Johnny needs a new pair of shoes. But regardless, I'm excited that it's 2 out of 3 falls. I like that very much. I think it makes perfect sense for the story they've been telling. These guys have been going back and forth for victories. So whoever wins this matchup, it's going to be the end of the feud. And you would hope that it's going to be Kalisto, but again, I'll give my full thoughts on that, preview predictions. But, whatever happens, the winner's going to move on. And it's going to be a new feud for WrestleMania, which is great and exciting and all that wonderful stuff. So I think this just elevated the kickoff show to like a whole nother level. It doesn't even really feel like a kickoff show anymore with a stipulation like this. It just feels like, okay, we're just really cramming this pay-per-view so much, which is kind of a lie, that, this is the spot that we got, but we're going to make the most of it. So I do like that very much.
That's weird, isn't it? Like, I don't really understand, like, they've got to add matches to the main show, right?
I mean, you'd think, right? I mean, all those exasperated sounds that you made preceding, I mean, that encompasses my feelings perfectly.
I'm just so, what are they gonna even do? Like, okay, so I get that we're gonna get AJ and Jericho, and of course there's the triple threat, but then, like, Charlotte Brie is probably gonna get 10 minutes tops, and then Becky, Sasha, Naomi, Tamina is probably gonna get, like, 10 minutes tops, and then Owen Ziggler, but, like, what else is there even?
Right. I don't know, dude.
I feel like we've got like an hour and a half worth of matches set for a 3-hour show, and yet Kalisto Del Rio, which is going to be 2 out of 3 falls, got bumped to the pre-show. I don't get it.
I really don't get it either, dude. It just really makes you wonder what
are they going to pull like. Are they going to pull like one of those douchey WrestleMania moves and have a concert on their show?
Oh God, I hope not.
I feel like they need to have like an extra like attraction to justify kicking Kalisto and Del Rio to the pre-show.
And maybe they've got one in their back pocket, but it's WWE, so you never know.
The real main event, 4-on-3 handicap match, Wyatt family versus Big Show, Kane, and Ryback.
Otherwise known as Ryback and Old Timers, because good God, I don't even know why they're still here. What's next after this Renee Young interview with Del Rio, bro? Was that Naomi versus Becky Lynch?
That is correct, yes.
Not too much to say
This was
here.
a fast match.
Yeah, it was.
Becky dominated, man.
Yeah, everything happened quickly with this whole thing. The match and then the proceeding segment. Because, the only other highlight I can think of besides the finish was Naomi again confirming she's a Speedball Mike Bailey fan with those kicks.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Becky Lynch slapped on that disarmer like nobody. I told you guys, she got out of the car. It was a long journey. She didn't want to put up with their crap. And that's what happened. So, quick tap out there. I'm very happy to see Becky win so decisively and so quickly after the rough week she had last week. So, she's starting this week on a great note. I'm glad to see her get that momentum because I think she's a phenomenal babyface. Like, I love her. We just got done talking about how adorable and amazing she is. You got me to do, like a Becky Lynch impression. That's the kind of effect she has on me. She's just so wonderful. So, good to see her have that momentum. Unfortunately, though, the celebration was short-lived because they go on the attack, do Naomi and Tamina, and they're really putting the boots to her. But then Sasha Banks comes out, and she means business because she's just taking off all that jewelry. Like, notably, I noticed she took off the earrings. I think she took off something else.
She took off the rings. Yes, that was amazing. I felt like I was about to watch something straight out of World Star.
I know, like, Sasha Banks taking off those rings, keeping that pimp hand fresh. Like, I really felt like she was about to smack somebody.
Oh my god, that was gold. Dude, I think Naomi and The Miz need to start hanging out around with each other because they both really enjoy tapping out.
Burn.
Maybe they can get together with their iPhones and play some tap revenge with each other.
Ooh, look at you go right now. Sasha saves Becky Lynch. They stand tall, but they don't really, obviously they don't like each other. And you do kind of get that weird vibe like, okay, yeah, I'm fine, whatever. Let's just get through this.
Dude, this was so awkward because I don't know if you noticed, but Sasha, while she was taking her stuff off, that was to the ring. But then she got to the ring, and then she decided to walk all the way around the ring while Tamina delivered another Samoan drop to Becky. Like, I couldn't figure out if Sasha was going to, join Team Bad in the beatdown and be like, haha, double swerve. But then she gets in the ring and Becky and Tamina and Naomi just kind of run away. Like, they were being all confrontational in the ring and waiting for Sasha to get in the ring, and then they left. And then there was that awkward moment where Sasha was just like, you're okay, Becky. And Becky was all getting up, she was all energized, yeah, come on, what are you going to do? When she was the one getting beat down.
Exactly. I would be very curious to know Becky's thought process. She's getting beat down. Oh, man. Oh, God, this hurts. Oh, wait, it's Sasha. Oh, thank goodness. I know we don't like each other, but at least we're on the same page tonight. Sasha, you're really taking a while to get in the ring. Oh God, Tamina's picking me up. Sasha, and then bam, Samoan drop. It's like, what are you doing?
And then Sasha comes out in the ring to actually help her, and she's like, okay, she meant to do this the whole time. Yeah.
This totally isn't about milking that pop. Yeah, oh God, my ribs. So, hopefully they get on the same page at Fastlane. I don't know, man. I still love them both, though. It's funny, because even with awkward stuff, I feel like if it was anybody else, I'd be giving them crap for it. But because I just love these two so much, and I just think in my own head that this is just a really adorable accident and miscommunication between people, I'm gonna forgive it. I'm gonna look the other way. So, it was what it was.
I'm done with that. Let's move on. Up next, we had a Wyatt family promo. John, we already talked about your problem with the Wyatt family cutting promos because they never are able to back it up. But I think that Braun Strowman becoming the new sort of figurehead. Now, obviously, he's not the leader because Bray still does most of the talking. But Braun has kind of become the guy that they want to kind of build around. And I think that's going to help because I think that Vince has this massive infatuation with Braun because of his size and his look, and he's actually going to win matches as opposed to Bray.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, dude. Really, the more we're seeing, the more that the rumors of this big summer push for Strowman seem legitimate. And yeah, I like him on the microphone. He seems, threatening. He keeps it succinct, which is a word I use for a lot more microphones than I used to. Exactly.
Run.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. Menacing was the word I was looking for Strowman. Very menacing on the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really like that.
Good vocab, buddy.
I know, right? Always bringing it. I'm the human thesaurus, baby. That's how I roll. But, yeah, good stuff from Strowman. I love that he's going to be getting this push. And you know what? I think for people that may be like, oh, it's just going to be this big clunky guy or whatever, I mean, don't be so quick to judge. I'm curious the depth of Strowman's abilities, because if that report's also true, that Strowman's actually holding back, good God, what is this guy actually holding out on? When are we really going to see
that's
it?
funny. It's funny you say that, because in the 2-minute 30-second match that we got between him and Big Show, I actually liked what they were doing. Like I was going into it fully expecting to dread it and hate it, and like, oh, they're gonna lock up and they're gonna do like a test of strength, they're gonna do shoulder blocks and stuff like that. But they actually got right into it, and I actually enjoyed what they were doing while it lasted.
I'll completely concede to your point there, despite my gripes with the fact that this closed out and like all this stuff. I love the idea that Strowman in particular was very aggressive. He didn't bother with that test of strength or any of that crap, to your point. I saw him get like these really nice looking shoulder thrusts in the corner, at one point to Big Show, really imposing his will. Like, if this is the kind of monster character that Braun Strowman's going to be, and I mean, yeah, you can have me on record as saying this, I'll be excited if it's true that he is going to have a program even with Roman freaking Reigns. I think that can work. So I'm curious to see how far Braun Strowman can go. And, again, I'm even more curious how Braun Strowman's success potentially could directly affect Bray Wyatt's future in his direction as a character. So I think there's a lot of intrigue going on right now. Hell, maybe even more than I initially gave it credit for with this segment, because this family, they're looking fortified now. But I just still believe, just something in the back of my mind says Bray is not going to be able to control this monster. So I'm curious how that'll pan out.
I wonder if they're going to do the Batista build with him, where they kind of build him up as the real enforcer of the group and eventually have him turn babyface and turn on the group.
Yeah, and see, like, I could see that, but you know what the funny thing is, dude? I don't know if you ever went and, like, read my Pweetall fantasy booking post, but I wrote, like, a really lengthy thing, because John can never keep it succinct, about how I feel like you could even make Bray the babyface in this scenario. Like, he's always talking about how he's this and that, but then, Braun is just kind of like, well, I'm the real leader now because I'm the one doing all the work and having all the dominance, and then they all gang up on Bray, and Bray's got to, take a new direction and find a new purpose. So I think either with Bray or Braun, you have a very unique situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good option, but we're talking about Vince McMahon here.
Yeah, and that's true.
He loves his monster baby faces, which is the dumbest phrase I've ever heard in my life, but Vince McMahon seems to be obsessed with that being a thing.
And you know what? It's a shame, and I'm not saying this to discredit Strowman, because if they want to go that route, I'm not opposed to it. I feel like I have a partiality for Bray almost being the sympathetic one here. And again, it's funny because Bryan, just left. And I feel like Bray has that unique look and that unique vibe about him. And I mean, Ashton, when you showed me that NXT farewell promo, it showed me that Bray could set the world on fire as a babyface with his message and how he speaks on the mic and what he speaks about. So I think you have your pick of the litter, but I think you're absolutely right. Vince is always going to defer to that monster type look. And you know what? That's nothing against Strowman. Let's see if he can earn it. Let's see if he can back it up. Yep. And he certainly did seem to, for those, to your point, 2 minutes and 30 seconds when they actually had a match before the Wyatt family comes in and it gets thrown out yet again, because who saw that coming? I mean, come on now.
Only everybody with a mind.
Exactly, those qualifications, though. So yeah, they're really.
I'm sure that there are some people who are out of their mind that also saw it coming, but most of those people are just not even.
Exactly. So while they're ganging up on Big Show, Ryback comes out to try and make the save. It starts out well, Ryback's well intentioned. He's even getting some good stuff in there, but then he gets taken down. But then the pyro goes off, and Kane comes out. Now, logically, because it's still 4 people against 3, you'd think, oh, well, they're going to have a 4th guy. And I honestly thought, and I'm not kidding with you guys, there was a part of me that actually thought, wait a minute. Of course they made this the main event segment.
Because the Undertaker's going to come out.
Because the Undertaker's going to come out, which to me was plausible because he'd be a part of an 8-man tag. It's not like he's carrying like this really demanding workload. Yeah. No, it was just Kane, and him alone with Big Show when he regained his bearings. That was enough to just, take everybody out. Which, oh, by the way, Kane came from underneath the ring, I guess after palling around with Hornswoggle.
And I love, too, that Kane is powerful enough to just toss effortlessly both Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman at the same time, despite not having leverage.
Exactly. So, just getting it done, I guess. And see, again, like, it just infuriates me because this is Kane in 2016. I'd be so much more forgiving of this if this was like 0203 Kane or, somewhere around there. This is 2016 Kane. The guy is like in his mid-40s. Like, no.
He's almost 50.
Yeah, you're right. It's not even mid-40s. It's like late 40s, almost 50. No, I'm projecting my no onto all of that. Oh my god. And they
project harder, John. Maybe it'll happen.
Maybe. Maybe you're right. Maybe I can actually win for once. But yeah, you're right. But, these guys stand tall. And I really want to find a reason to care. And you're right. The silver linings we talk about, particularly with Braun Strowman, they still stand. Without question. But just why? Why? I don't even think it's so much the acts. It's just, I hate.
I mean, yeah, I don't have an answer either.
Well, I was going to say, like, I hate the idea. I think what really made me angry about this and why I stand by it being a heat of the night, it just sends a message that no matter, like, all the youth we have and this and that on our roster, which I think is another thing that at least Charlotte and Paige had going for them, these guys...
I mean, Paige, yes, but Charlotte's 30 years old. She's one of the oldest divas they have.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I wasn't aware. All right, I stand slightly corrected, but still... miles of difference. I mean, yeah, I guess for the women's division, 30
She's
is
29. She's going to be 30 in April.
29. But still, though, I mean, Big Show and Kane standing tall in a main event Raw segment in 2016 when they're, I mean, again, Kane late 40s. Big Show, I think, is the same, maybe. I don't know. But, I mean, man, what a bad taste in the mouth. But regardless, Wyatt family will get theirs, and I'm confident in that. So is there anything else you want to say about this before we move on?
I think we can move on, brother.
All right, high spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot, I mean, just keeping up that momentum, I'm just going to say the Wyatt family in general. Because, I mean, even though you had the numbers advantage, you still got beat back by 3 people. And again, 2 of them were Big Show and Kane. And I'm not even going to bring age and whatever into a factor, but you've already shown that you can handle those guys, but now suddenly you can't. Again, despite the fact that you still have the numbers advantage. So this was a really bad night for the Wyatt family. They are my low shot.
Yeah, just for the fun of it, my low shot's going to be Paige, because Summer Rae's awesome.
You know what? I'm going to take a little bit of a liberty here. My honorary high spot is Dean Ambrose, because despite losing the Intercontinental Championship, he had another great night to me as a babyface on the go-home show. He was in the spotlight. He was in the foreground, where I feel like Reigns, even with this segment with Heyman, was more in the background, if anything, at least in my mind. And he just had another great night, in that vein. But my actual high spot, as if there was any question, the new Intercontinental Champion for a second time. That's right, two-time Intercontinental Champion, the true father of the year, every year, Kevin.
God. I feel like that's a little distasteful now.
Maybe, but are you going to get an apology from me? Absolutely not. Kevin Owens, baby. Kevin freaking Owens.
Oh, my God.
Second time IC champion. And what's Sammy doing? Oh, I hope I can be the first ever 2-time NXT champion. Take a seat. With that good shoulder.
Look, man, all I'm saying is there have been 2-time Intercontinental champions before, but there's never been a 2-time NXT champion.
Yeah, well, let's hope for the sake of the good shoulder that he actually succeeds. With Kevin Owens, it's never a doubt. Kevin Owens, success is a guarantee. Why? Because he's the best man in the freaking business. He works harder than everybody, and he deserves this, damn it. Yeah!
Why does he deserve it, John?
Because he's a father! Damn it! Yes! Again!
Oh my God, I am way too entertained by that. I feel like I'm pulling a WWE and forcing that catchphrase down our listeners' throats, and if I am, I'm sorry, but it entertains me so much.
Probably, and I'm probably going to retire with a lifetime supply of lozenges, but, it's worth it, because you have to celebrate the excellence that is Kevin Owens, and I am excited to see him be Intercontinental Champion again, and despite the fact, that Dolph Ziggler, that urchin, just to transgress on Kevin Owens' territory of relevance, because he wants to suckle on the teat of something, because his career is going 1,000,000 miles per hour to nowhere. shut the fuck up and take a seat. Your time is over. In fact, that may even be a bit much because it never even started. You're a goddamn joke. Who's your high spot?
I mean, Ziggler has been world champion.
He has been working. Yeah, for what? I mean, a cash-in where he lost it, what was it, like a month later because, I'm fighting through my injury. And then the other time he was world champion, the time before that, Vicky Guerrero awarded him the championship. Did anybody award Kevin Owens the Intercontinental Championship, Ashton?
Well, Kevin Owens has never actually won a world title, so...
Not yet. Kevin Owens has never won a world title yet. Where was your ellipses in the yet, Ashton? There were two things missing in sense.
Ellipses because he, it's true. He has never won one. That's not to say he never will, but he hasn't ever yet.
Okay, yeah, and that's just it. Yet. There we agree. And yes, we agree. He has never won the world title, but I mean, it's going to change, and his reign is going to dwarf both of those reigns from Dolph Ziggler combined. That's, as the great Tyson Kidd would say, a fact. So with that established, who is your high spot?
You know what? I'm never going to top that, so I'm going to take the clever route, and my high spot's going to be the Dudley Boys.
I like that, actually. No, in fact, I don't just like it. I love it. I think
because they did a great job just kind of reinforcing their heel status in their promo, and then of course they kind of I'm guessing Paul Heyman called in a favor because Brock wasn't around, so he got the Dudley Boys to take care of business with Roman, and it's because of the Dudley Boys that Roman and Dean have tension now. So.
Honestly, dude, and I can say this because this isn't on the Fastlane card and therefore doesn't violate our preview predictions coming up, I hope the Dudleys win on SmackDown. I actually think that would be the proper call, even if it's by a miscue between Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. That would be the...
Wait, is that match officially announced?
Yeah, for SmackDown, yeah. From what I understand it was.
Nice.
Yeah. So I would have the Dudleys go over, again, even if it's by a miscue, because that's going to be their first official match since the turn, and I think you want to start it right. I would absolutely...
Roman Spears Dean.
Yeah, Roman Spears Dean. They get Roman out of the ring, and then they just do a 3D on Dean for good measure, so he's eating two finishers, one regular finisher and then one tag team finisher, and then you pin him. I think he could take that, even if it is like before Fastlane, the following Sunday. So, yeah, I think that works. I love your high spot. So with that said, let's move on to our last segment, Raw Request. And I've had this in mind for a while. My Raw Request... There's going to be two losers at Fastlane, one of whom I think is going to have something set up for them right out of the gate, and I think you guys already know who that is. But there's going to be another one where I think the road to WrestleMania is going to be more ambiguous. My Raw request is the Raw after, start laying that groundwork immediately for their road to WrestleMania and make it feel important. Because if this match is going to go the way I think it's going to go, and I think the way a lot of people think it's going to go, the guy that's going to get ousted here I think deserves a lot better. And I would like to see him do something worthwhile at WrestleMania. So lay that groundwork. And if it goes another way that we're not expecting, you still got a talent that you're trying to build, a caliber talent at that, and they deserve a great road to WrestleMania. I just don't want to see anybody get shortchanged, I think, is my Raw request, because somebody is going to have the floor, bottom out from underneath them, and they're going to need something to land on. So that's my Raw request, to just start that road to WrestleMania for the losers coming out of Fastlane.
You were very vague with that Raw request, but I still, I couldn't help but feel like you made that Raw request under the assumption that Dean is going to be the one to end up having the floor pulled out from underneath him, because after all, he doesn't have a ceiling that he can land on now because he lost the IC title tonight.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is what I was talking about at the Royal Rumble. Sure, it would have made us suspend our disbelief more that Dean could have beaten Triple H, but then when Triple H won, it would have crushed us that much more because he wouldn't have had the title anymore. So now, when Dean gets pinned on Sunday, it's going to be twice as devastating because he's not going to have the IC title to lean back on.
That may not happen. I mean, stranger things have happened. I choose to believe.
Have they? I mean, the strangest thing that I've seen happen was WrestleMania 30 being built around Daniel Bryan. But
we'll see, man. I mean, again,
that was good strange, though. This would be good strange, too. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, my God. Dude, like I said, I have a lot to say, but I am saving it for the right time. This is not the right forum. Not yet.
I feel like you're like a balloon on the brink of popping.
I am so ready to pop. And, just like Ryback never hears the crowd pop.
And you know what the amazing thing is?
What's that?
You're excited about previewing predictions we still have Lucha Underground on Wednesday.
I know we do, the best show on the goddamn planet. But what is your Raw request, my friend?
My Raw request is be more sincere with your fans, because if you're going to tell us that we're getting a Divas Revolution and then you're going to start building your Divas Championship matches around the men involved, you're just straight up lying to us at that point. There is no Divas Revolution, at least not yet. And the only reason I say not yet is because I'm still naive enough to think that there's hope that there will be one.
I admire you that you still have hope. That's foreign to me anymore. So, yeah.
If I didn't, I wouldn't be watching the show.
That's an excellent counterpoint, actually. I readily co-sign onto that Raw request, dude. I love it. I do think sincerity is important, particularly for the women on the main roster that you've consistently done a disservice to for years.
Yep.
I mean, let's call it what it is. And see, that's the thing. I don't want to go on like a whole like current event rant, but there have been, things in like current events and you see all these people, revisionist history and trying to make it seem like what it's not. And I'm saying a similar thing here. I don't like fakeness with things like this. Be honest about what you are. You don't give a crap about the women on your main roster. And you're going to
I've been saying for a while now, and this stance has never felt more right than it does now. Just don't have female performers on the main roster. If all you're going to do is treat them like garbage and give them crap to work with and never actually give them opportunity to get better at what they do and, all that stuff, just don't even bother with them on the main roster. Send every single diva to NXT. Let them work for a promotion that respects them. And it's within your umbrella, so they're still in your company. The difference is they're going to get to do what they actually want to do. They're going to actually be respected. They're going to get opportunities to get TV time to, develop their characters, to be interesting. Unlike the main roster, where, Charlotte goes from this superiority complex thinking she's genetically superior to everyone, sort of hybrid tweener, to Ric Flair's daughter.
Exactly.
That's my thing, dude. If you don't want to treat women with respect, don't have women on your show. Put them on the show that does treat women with respect.
I couldn't have said it any better, and I'm not even going to try to. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so, no.
All right, I'm going to take us home. That was beautifully said, and I wish they would actually listen to it. With that said, this has been Raw. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
Oh, I didn't have one prepared this week. So let's just go with this. Who do you have winning the triple threat match?
Ooh, raising those stakes. Yeah,
well,
guys.
We're doing preview predictions on Saturday, so obviously we're going to want to hear people's predictions then. But it never hurts to give a little bit of a preview, right?
Certainly not.
Yeah,
Certainly
so guys, tell us. Who do you think is going to win the triple threat? And really, what it kind of comes down to is, will they pull the trigger on Dean, or are they sticking with Roman? How unfortunate is it that Brock Lesnar is in a match, and he's the only one that I'm writing off as not going to win?
Yeah, you, me, and I think everybody else. And I think we all know why, but we'll get into the meat and potatoes of that, in our preview predictions. But yeah, guys, get that conversation started down in the comments. Be sure to take that same conversation over to Pweetoff. That is Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook. There are WWE fans on there, even if we're not the craziest about Raw, that I think have their own theories and opinions about Fastlane.
I mean, let's be real. Everyone on Pweetoff is a WWE fan.
Very true. Very true.
I mean, it might not be their favorite promotion, and as a matter of fact, I would say at least 75% of the people on there would prefer another promotion, whether it's New Japan or ROH or Lucha Underground or PWG or whatever. But everyone on there at least follows WWE and can talk about it.
Right. So, it's the
big fish in town, right?
Yeah, I mean, your theories would definitely have a voice, have a forum to be expressed. There's some very interesting conversations as we head towards Fastlane. And in the vein of Facebook, be sure to like the TWitWoW Facebook page. You can interact there, leave us your feedback, stuff like that. If Facebook isn't your thing, we have a TWitWoW subreddit that Ashton created. There you will see all of our TWitWoW content, and you, as a member of that community, would be endowed with the power of creating your own threads on all things related to pro wrestling. On the Twitter side, because again, I really enjoyed interacting with you guys tonight. I had a lot of fun. I felt like I had some memorable tweets. You can follow me at John_TwitWoW, and you can follow Ashton at APOND, that's, APOND, 404. So both members of the TwitWoW crew there that you can get at with your tweets. And we will see you again for our Lucha Underground review, where it is a battle for the ages. It is Prince Puma versus Pentagon Jr.
And also, Joey Ryan debuts to take on Cage, and also Chavo Guerrero returns with the crew.
Awesome. So, I mean, you guys know what's going down. I don't even know how the Temple sustains this consistent just magnitude of amazingness, but it does, and we love it. And, of course, after that, you guys are going to want to be with us for NXT review. So Wednesday nights, are packed. We will see you then, guys. Until then, tune in and peace out.